Good evening, everybody. Thanks for joining us again for another edition of Reasonable Doubt, brought to you by the Harris County Criminal Lawyers Association. I'm your host, Jimmy Ardwan, along with my co-host, Tulio Vela. Did you have some margaritas before tonight's show?
2 beers.
That's all?
Yeah. 2 beers.
We're going to talk about
That's
that
it.
later.
And a cup of coffee.
I'm going to question you about your consumption and your facts.
2 beers. Oh, was it 3? 2 beers.
Dinner.
2 beers.
We're going to give everybody the test tonight, ladies and gentlemen. We got a lot of good stuff to talk about with our 2 guests this evening. Returning to the show tonight, Miss Lori Botello. Lori.
Hi.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
Glad you could join us again.
Yeah, I'm excited.
And first time on the show this evening from the Federal Public Defender's Office, Genesis Draper.
Hi.
How are you?
Great. Thanks for having me.
Got the necklace on. You all ready to go?
Looks nice.
Yeah, I know.
Very nice.
Yeah.
We're going to be here the next hour, ladies and gentlemen, talking about some good topics. We got some stuff going on at the crime lab yet again here in Houston. We also have some interesting stuff happening at the legislature in Austin. I mean, what the heck is up with those people? Also, as I asked Julio what his consumption was, we're going to talk about Tiger Woods and what exactly is going down in Florida. And we'll talk a little bit about this big Silk Road federal appeal that just came down, but we will open up our phone line starting about 8:30 if you guys want to get in on the conversation. 713-807-1794 is the number. We also have Twitter up at HCCLA_TV, so you can hit us up there as well. But let's just jump right into it, guys. This Houston Crime Lab thing. You know, Julio, we've been talking about this, I think, since we started this show. Since I came on as the host in 2014, and you were in the back before you came out here to join us on the stage. It's just a recurring theme in this town, the crime lab and the problems.
It's the bring it to the people, right? It's going to be a civilian-led forensic lab in one of the biggest metropolitan areas and counties in the country. But the question is are the people ready? Can they handle it? Or is it better if the government and HPD keeps it? What says you guys?
I mean, we've been trying it, letting HPD handle it, and that hasn't worked. So, I mean, at this point.
Well, and some would argue that it never really left HPD.
Right.
The whole idea of this Houston Forensic Science Center was that it was supposed to come out from under HPD. They never moved out of the building to start. I think now they're out of the building. They may actually have their own. But all they really did was they took HPD vehicles and slapped a new sticker on them. Mm-hmm. So it was kind of this, just we'll just put some new clothes on everything and we'll make everybody think we're changing. But they haven't. I mean, we've had problems after problem after problem after problem, and now this latest round of errors by investigators is what has now finally prompted the civilian change. And they're going to try and implement this in the next 6 months. Is this really well thought out, guys?
I think at this point they're willing to do anything. I'm not sure that this is actually the answer. I don't know if more training is the answer or what, because there's something a little scary about thinking about people that are not involved, and this is their regular work, now being in charge of it. But desperate times calls for desperate measures.
Do you think that it's going to be just another rubber stamp, that although it's a completely civilian-led forensic lab, that it may just be another rubber stamp that HPD is going to put on them? And by the way, what in the world does it mean, civilian-led? I mean, what does that even mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, what is that? Who's hiring these people? Is it the...
Well, and that's what I'm trying to figure out. I mean, here it says here that all CSIs will be civilians by the end of 2017. What the heck does that mean?
So they'll still be county employees, just not HPD?
Well, or
private. I guess right now it's private, isn't it? The city's response they created this private entity to go over things.
Right, but I think the private entity has been more interested or more overseeing the crime lab as opposed to, what is it, the
CSI.
Crime scene investigators.
Interesting.
And so there's been some improvement in the lab, but then in this area where they weren't as involved, allegedly, that's where we're seeing more of the problems now.
And so they're taking it away from HPD, that particular crime scene unit maybe, that wing of that department, and going to privatize it.
That's what it sounds like.
I don't know, man. I don't know if it's like big government sucks or big money sucks, or like, or are they both just damned to be flawed?
Well, and I go back to, what is the definition of civilians?
Right.
And this is the whole, I guess some people would argue that this is the militarization argument of the police too. I mean, if you're going to basically take this out, why does there need to be this delineation of civilians versus police? I mean, aren't they supposed to protect and serve and everything else? But leave that argument aside. I'm assuming they mean non-police trained.
I think so.
And non-internal from the police department actually working on this is all going to come from the outside. That's my interpretation of this.
Yeah, I think so.
Is that they're not going to, for instance, if they're going to bring on a, some sort of chemist, that it's not going to be one that's on HPD's payroll, lent out to the lab. It's going to be somebody who's got maybe come from Rice University or was a professor or something like that in another life or their prior life, and now they come to work here. And they have no connection to law enforcement.
They have these new degree plans in universities. I think ever since CSI, the TV show, became like the most popular show on TV in America, all of these new degree plans have popped up. And there's so many more who were kids, I guess now college students, interested in getting these degrees. Not necessarily interested in being a police officer, but they want to get their hands dirty. They want to look at the evidence. They want to pick up the bullets. And I think that's what this new plan is really going to seek, these graduates from these programs to come and work and do the crime scene investigations, answer the calls, but not necessarily wear blue.
So do you think that when they come and testify, and they're put on as witnesses, that they're going to testify as a independent, non-county or non-HPD paid employee, or do you think, no, they're going to still not want to get fired by the county for not testifying in ways that are favorable to them?
My guess.
You think so? I don't know. Yeah, I think so too. Maybe it's because
I think the loyalty will naturally start to shift, just like you see with medical examiners and things like that. That the loyalties just start to shift. But I guess my question is, how is it now? What type of training do the people have now? Because presumably they're on the force, but are these people with some type of particular training? How is it really different other than you're not called a police?
I suspect it was police officers who were interested in this line of work who either had the degree prior to entering the force or went to school to do this. Okay. Just like they have all those training programs for DRE testing. And
yeah, and I mean, I get the idea behind this, and what they're saying is now that these most recent problems with Houston's Forensic Science Center are now leading to new CSU guidelines, crime scene unit. For those of you who don't know the acronym, it's crime scene unit, for statewide. Right, and this will be a shift statewide. But I'm kind of in agreement with you guys. I don't know. I mean, the problem we had before was they were police employees. Okay, and so to get a police employee to testify against one of their fellow employees, it's pretty darn difficult.
Yeah.
To call somebody under the rug for something they did wrong in the course of an investigation was pretty difficult, and they risk getting fired. They risk getting shunned, being an outcast within their own, department, for lack of a better term. I don't know that this really changes that, because the same problem exists, as we've talked about on this show, I think a few months ago. The same problem exists, I feel like, with the district attorney's office to some degree, in that I feel like it's very hard sometimes for prosecutors to call BS on police officers because they work so often and so closely with them.
Right.
That it becomes a struggle sometimes to either dismiss a case or tell an officer, that you're just wrong on that. Now, I know there are some good people over the DA's office who will do that and have a backbone. That there seems to be a lot more of them now than there historically have been. But I just feel like in years past, the last, 30 years plus, probably, longer than I've been practicing law, I just feel like there's that loyalty there. And I don't know that that's going to change just because you put some civilians over the science center.
Well, I think it could be, or is an attempt to wash away the blatant incompetency and just curious happenings that have gone on in that department. We're talking something like 20 or 30 homicide and or police shootings where the bullets go missing, or that bloody rag over there wasn't even picked up, or that gun that you retrieved is lost and nowhere to be found. These aren't trespasses or misdemeanors we're talking about. These are when a cop shoots somebody, the bullet that killed the guy is not here in evidence. Or that video that should have been there when the officer had an incident where he discharged his firearm and shot somebody isn't there anymore. And they're missing from the reports, they're missing from the inventory logs, and then later on there's small, horrible attempts to kind of scoot it to the side. And now I guess they can say, well, we're not HPD, right? We're not HPD, so we're clean. I don't know. I think that might have been their attempt to remedy this
But look
curious
at the
situation.
look at the rape kit problem.
Right.
The backlog, all the issues that, I mean, look what happened with the guy who was eventually convicted in Jenny's case, which, I mean, we could throw this in too. They finally passed Jenny's law. It's waiting on Governor Abbott's desk. Notably, the only DA to oppose the law, I don't know if you guys saw this, the DA of Bexar County.
Are you serious? Where some of the other DAs went to go work?
Where some of those in question on Jenny's case are actually now employees.
I'm telling you, man, some of this stuff stinks, man. It just stinks. You can't.
But you know, I mean, part of the problem with Jenny's case and the perpetrator in that case was they had a hard time getting this guy convicted on other cases because of evidentiary problems. You know? And so here you have a serial rapist that time and time again, he was either they cut him loose or they gave him a lesser charge, which, you know, the Chronicle did that whole article trying to really kind of throw some mud on some former DAs for cutting him loose and cutting him a deal. It's like, well, but there's another story you got to look at here. You know, the DA, as much as we like to rag on DAs, you know, they can only work with what they have. You know, right. and to some degree, you have to give a prosecutor who does the right thing when they don't have the evidence to make a case, and they plead a case down to what they can make, you know, or they outright dismiss it and not try to get somebody convicted on 25 to life
Right.
on evidence they don't have.
Right.
You know, you got to give them kudos. Instead, you know, the Chronicle writes that article, kind of blaming the DA's office to some degree. But look a little deeper, dig a little deeper. What about the problems going on at the crime lab that led to this?
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
You know, I mean, that's part of the problem there, in my opinion.
I'm not sure this is the answer. I mean, one of the things that we do every time there's a problem is create a committee.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about this.
And this committee and this oversight group is going to study this and deal with it, and then nothing happens.
Yeah.
Except everybody gets paid.
Everybody gets paid to do a survey.
Yes, everybody gets paid.
Exactly.
And then nothing happens. Which is like, okay, so from what I understand, the Houston Forensic Science Center has its own private board, and I assume this board is somehow involved in employing services from companies who render services in testing, in toxicology, in crime scene investigation, and the equipment that's bought and used. So I'm wondering if this crime scene unit and the whole forensic arena goes private, will we see the same concerns that we see in private prisons, or anytime a portion of the government goes private, where it's all about money, efficiency, and the real reason for the program or endeavor is lost to the almighty dollar? What do you think?
Well, we want more efficiency.
right? And those are good arguments. I mean, right.
We want to get evidence back within a reasonable time frame.
Which the rape kits are getting back, and apparently they have a guy 24/7 answering the CSI phone, which apparently wasn't happening before.
And so hopefully with people taught to pick up that bullet no matter what, pick up this evidence, bag it, seal it, preserve it the right way, this will make defending cases a lot harder because we'll lose the angle of, well, evidence is missing. How are you going to prove that? But at the same time, this is their job. This is what they're supposed to do. And if we can't win cases when they do their job, shouldn't win.
I find it phenomenal that it's like the Harris County study that has led to the collapse of the forensic standards statewide. That this case is so bad, Harris County is so bad, that they have to use it as an example to overhaul the entire system statewide.
You know, go big or go home, right? I got a question coming in. Wanted to know, isn't Anthony Graves on the Civilian Oversight Board?
He could be.
Wonderful.
I don't know.
I think he is, and if he's watching, that'd be a wonderful insight to figure out how this board is operating.
Right.
You know? Wow, because that'd be a great watchdog.
Yeah, and I mean, it sounds like, though, they're wanting to expand and not just have civilians be on the oversight board, but actually bring more people who aren't necessarily law enforcement trained into the fold. But I don't know. Lori, are you finding anything over there?
I do, yeah. I saw that in 2015 there was an article titled How Anthony Graves Went from Death Row to Overseeing the Houston Crime Lab.
Well, there you go.
Wonderful.
So if his input is a factor at all, maybe, I think it's an idea worth trying.
Sure, because they're obviously covering up cop shootings. It's obviously like 26, 30 times.
Clearly.
Yeah.
Clearly.
You never lost a bullet in one of my cases.
Well, yeah. I mean, that would be interesting to see how this works. You know, I don't know. They've been trying to fix all this stuff for years, and nothing seems to have really taken. But talk about things not getting fixed. Let's talk about what happened in Austin this week.
Oh, God.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow is right. So
That's how far we've fallen. I mean, seriously?
Yeah.
We're about to have a fight?
I know.
Well, when I was Channing and that ICE agent came up to me, I told him, look, man, I'm from here. I'm Tejano way. Told him. No, I wasn't there.
So
I wasn't there. I'm
just
kidding.
for those of you who've been, you know, I guess, I don't know the best way to describe it, living under a rock and don't know what's going on up in Austin, our Texas legislature the session came to an end this past week, and on the final day, there were a number of protesters protesting, particularly the sanctuary cities law, that has, of course, become very controversial. They pulled funding from the Travis County Sheriff's Office as a prelude to this law. I mean, it's just a lot of stuff. It's caused a lot of upheaval, a lot of anger, a lot of resentment, and so there were a lot of protesters. A lot of them holding signs that said, "We're illegal," and
Come and get me.
Come and get me.
It's like the equivalent of smoking a joint on the side of the street.
Yeah, to which one Republican member of the legislature, what was his name, Matt Rinaldi, basically got a little testy with some other members of the legislature, some Democratic members of the legislature, and said he had called ICE.
Like, do you have ICE on speed dial? I don't even know how that happened.
Well,
We're scary.
And my question
Very
is,
scary.
okay, you call ICE. You call ICE on the basis that somebody's holding up a sign. What?
Get them out.
It's because they
They're
stink.
illegal.
They stink. They stink.
Shouldn't be here.
Is that PC? For ICE to come in and remove somebody because they're holding up a sign that says I'm illegal?
You know, I think he seriously
And arrest somebody?
expected ICE to do what they're doing all over the state.
Sure.
And just find a group of people that could possibly be undocumented and start harassing people.
Yeah.
I think they expected that to actually happen right there.
And then it got really testy from that point. There were some F-bombs dropped.
And there even a threat. Wasn't
A
there?
shoving match.
Yeah, there was a shoving match first. And then this is where it gets, where it starts to denigrate, and the stories are wildly inconsistent as to who threatened who first. Okay, the only thing that is consistent is that both sides admit they made the threat. Okay, the Democrats have admitted, yeah, I threatened him, but then and the Republicans said, yeah, I threatened that I'd shoot him because he was threatening me.
Right.
They're both saying, I did it because the other one did it first, and it's like, well, okay, two wrongs don't make a right, no matter what.
Right.
It doesn't matter. You're both crazy, and that's the problem, is that both sides are nuts at this point.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous, especially for, you got all these protesters, and the fight breaks out amongst the legislatures. Right. I mean, it's really outrageous. And I mean, there's something to be said that this issue, is a really hot issue and people feel passionately about it. And I'm glad to think that they are there. There are people there that really feel strongly one way or the other. But to let it devolve all the way into a shoving match and I'm going to put a bullet in your head.
Right.
Take a break.
I mean, we might as well go back to the Wild West of let's go outside and just have a duel.
Right.
Take 10 steps, turn around, and bam.
You can open carry on the Capitol.
That's what I'm saying.
On the Capitol?
Yeah.
I'm surprised.
Yeah, I went to tour the Capitol this spring, and if you have a license, you can bypass security, and you can have your gun in a holster. Yes.
It's a Texas Capitol, son.
Wow. Hey, did you hear about that?
Take it.
You hear about that mayor of what was it, Pasadena, who called that black dude's son, and then?
Oh, I'm sorry.
And did you hear about that? Did y'all hear about that?
Oh.
The mayor called another councilman, an African American black dude, or Mexican. He was Mexican. Listen, son, kind of like what you just did, and then.
Oh no.
Yeah, and then he called. Turns out the mayor of Pasadena is a big old racist, but whatever. No, but speaking of that, this is Texas, right? Those kind of things come out. I mean, open carries, fights in the legislature, that kind of racism or ethnocentrism or politic biles up in the legislature, and we see it. It's in Houston, it's in Pasadena, it's in Austin. Right. That's ridiculous.
But isn't it also, I mean, we've gotten to a point, I feel like, that there is just an unwillingness on either side of the aisle to compromise. It's just everybody has dug in here. And it's going to be my way or the highway, or we're going to come to blows and I'm going to threaten to put a bullet in your head.
Right, but at the same time, some of these issues have become so divisive that there really leaves little room for civility.
Right.
I mean, we're talking about the bathroom law that they're trying to do.
Don't even get me started.
As well
on
as the
that.
sanctuary city. I mean, those are, really affecting people's actual lives. And so when you're getting to issues that divisive, I think it's difficult. I'll say it's difficult to maintain the civility. Not impossible.
I mean, the fact that we're more concerned about who's going into bathrooms at our schools rather than how we're going to pay for our schools in the first place. Because guess what? If you can't pay for them, there ain't going to be anybody going to the bathroom in the schools. So
hold it.
I mean, it's just it's so ridiculous.
It is.
I don't know. I mean, I just find it's.
Wasn't son.
I don't know how we're going to get anything done. I mean, everybody wants to do criminal justice reform. We want to pass all these laws, but when you've got your legislatures threatening each other on the floor of the Capitol, how do you expect to get any of this stuff done?
I bet you both of those guys get reelected by overwhelming results.
Well, I don't know about the guy in Irving, though, because he barely won his seat the last time. He only won, I looked it up, and he only won by like...
Which one was he in?
Rinaldi, he was the Republican.
This will boost his ratings.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, but I mean, I think he was in a very contested, I think he was in one of the closer districts. So it will be interesting to see whether this boosts his popularity or drags it down.
There ain't very many Mexicans over in Irvine, so.
In Irving?
Yeah, I think Irving.
You think so?
They don't come to vote. I don't know.
Oh, wait, no.
Well, that's the question.
Who
Who shows up to vote, actually?
Right.
I mean, that's the big question,
But Irving
is who
looks
comes out.
a lot different than it did.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I mean, I went down to Austin, and I've gotten in a fight with all them Mexicans and called ice on them. And vote for me.
You should run
Actually,
for Congress.
Yes.
We're enlisting Julio.
Yeah, right.
We're gonna put your. But I will say this though. I have seen here in the last Yeah, well, I mean, I guess since January, since the inauguration of that guy. I will say, I've seen more people that I think that I'm glad are going to get involved and actually run, either for a bench or a congressional seat or a state legislative seat, and start to really challenge the establishment. So, I mean, I feel good about that. Whatever you can say bad about Trump, I will say this. What I have now seen is there is a movement of people to try and actually challenge the establishment. If there's one good thing that he did, it's challenging the establishment and breaking down the establishment in this country, because clearly these two sides just, they can't do it anymore, in my opinion. Yeah. They just can't. I mean, they can't even agree on simple things at this point. Simple things.
You know, to echo what you said, I think even the new Republicans or new Democrats or the younger generations see the world a lot differently than the people who are in power, who've probably been there currently, you know, the whole 20, 30 years, they've been there 15, 20 years. They're on their way out. And even the Republicans and Democrats, I think, when I say younger, I say I think I'm at the end. I'm 33, so I think I'm the end of the millennials, or the beginning, or the end. Like, I'm like that last, either just starting in. Anyways, I'm 33.
You're on the edge.
I'm 34. I'll be 34 next month. But even both of us, the idea that some of these old school ideas just aren't even in the mix, and I think I'm seeing these younger people stepping up, taking office, or running for things.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because obviously millennials get a lot of heavy criticism for, and rightly so. I mean, there's a lot of it that, look, I mean, you need to step up to the plate a little bit. But I do think you're right. I mean, I think there is a shift in how people view things. And talking about the racism that exists, I think one of the biggest things, and tonight the NBA Finals start, and we're not a sports show.
Cavs in 4.
That's your prediction.
There we go.
5.
It's bold.
Oh, you say Cavs in 5. All right.
That's bold,
Very.
I will say.
The King's going to show up, man.
How can you not? So clearly you're supporting Tristan Thompson over Kevin Durant as a Texas X.
I'm just a King fan. I want to just see him. I mean, I love Durant.
Whatever.
And we digress.
We digress. But one of the interesting things I think about this is LeBron James, who's clearly the best basketball player right now, and there's this debate about whether or not he's better than Michael Jordan.
He's not right.
Debatable.
Speaking of that,
Well, but the point is, what I have seen is a willingness now, recently, to actually speak candidly on racial issues.
right?
Okay, and I think LeBron James is actually emblematic of that, because one thing Michael Jordan never did
Right.
was he never spoke about race issues, and that was one of the things that both he and the subject of our next conversation, Tiger Woods, they stayed away from, and they received constant criticism for it, because here are two very wealthy, powerful black men, or mixed racial background in the case of Tiger Woods, who would not use their fame, fortune, and position to actually address the problems with racism. And now you see LeBron James taking more of a role a la what Muhammad Ali did back in the 60s and 70s.
With
And
much less sacrifice, but yes.
no, but I mean, what I'm saying, I don't know if that is just because, if that's, and look, his home was vandalized out in Los Angeles. But there just seems to be a more willingness amongst society now to really talk about these things seriously. And like you said, Genesis, it's really sparked a lot of anger amongst people.
Oh, yeah.
Because they're very passionate about these things.
Right. No, I mean, it's on the forefront of everybody's mind. And just like you said, I mean, it doesn't matter how famous you are, how popular you are, how, admired you are. It's still tough. It's still a serious issue.
Yeah.
We see that in the vandalism of his home and a host of other things. But it's a catch-22, right? He's criticized for taking a stand. Some people say stick to basketball.
Right.
You're Michael Jordan,
Yeah.
you don't say anything. People are like, you selling us out. I mean,
Yeah, you can't win.
Yeah.
You can't win.
You can't win either way. We've hit the halfway mark of the show, ladies and gentlemen. See, you thought this was going to take forever. We were all worried. We're going to go for an hour straight. I can't believe that.
No break.
No breaks. We're already halfway
I
through.
should have known that 4 lawyers could make it happen.
Of course. But you can get in on this conversation, ladies and gentlemen. 713-807-1794 is your number right there at the bottom of the screen. Also on Twitter, I'm here, at HCCLA_TV. Come on, hit me up. Let's talk about Tiger, though. Okay, so
Tiger.
he gets arrested. Oh, we do have a phone call. Before we get to Tiger, let's take our phone call. First phone call of the night. Hello, thanks for calling Reasonable Doubt. Hello.
Oh no.
Oh, we
False
got to turn the
alarm.
mic up.
False alarm. Hello.
Are we good?
Are we good?
Oh, yeah, we'll come
Okay.
back.
Okay, we'll come back to that. Let's start on Tiger. What, are they yelling at me? What's going on?
No, we're good. No, Tiger.
Tiger.
Arrested for DUI in Florida a couple days ago. Now, the interesting thing is, first off, of course, he's the most well-known golfer in the world. He may have gotten out of a first DWI because of his wife chasing him down with a golf club.
I remember
yeah.
that one. I forgot about
So,
that.
He might not get too much credit this time because of that. But he gets arrested. TMZ breaks the story, and there's
TMZ.
Good on.
but you know, unlike most TMZ stories, this one is just riddled with errors. I mean, they're not even close to getting it right. And I don't know what happened. If they paid for that information, they need to get their money back because it was just not
They
even
were in
right.
a rush to break the story first.
Right. Well, and so the interesting thing is he gets arrested. He blows a 0.00, and he comes out and says alcohol was not involved, but he admits to taking prescription drugs.
I wanted to slap him.
Aw.
It sounded like he had already admitted to that, at the scene.
That's what it sounds like.
So, I think he was kind of continuing the narrative, but it was just so painful because it's like, okay, you blew a .00.
Just leave it at that.
Just leave it alone and let us discuss what might have happened to you.
Yeah.
I'm sleepy, bro.
I'm sleepy. It's
I'm
dark.
sleepy. I'm sleepy. I'm Tiger Woods. I've been
disoriented.
working
Your
on my
light is
swing.
too bright. I mean, there are a host of things.
Well, and this is an offense that clearly, no matter what your stature is, no matter how much money you have, you can get arrested for it.
Right. Now, it doesn't help that, he had the busted rims and flat tires.
Well,
and
what exactly is the fresh car damage? It had fresh car damage?
fresh car damage was two
Oh, the
flat
busted
tires.
That's right.
And
Yeah.
your rims bent. So, I mean, you
And you were
weren't
asleep.
rolling that long. 'Cause
Yeah.
You
You were
had some
asleep
little
behind the
low
wheel.
profile, so you weren't rolling that long.
With your car and
It was
drive.
fresh.
Foot on the brake.
Not to ruin your defense type, but I'm just saying there were some other issues, so don't kick yourself for that.
But,
That's right.
I mean, here's the thing. In terms of, not all of our clients are in the news. He's in a little bit different position because obviously he has endorsement contracts. There is some pressure to come out and make a statement
Right.
about like what he did. And
Resist the pressure.
yeah,
Pissed.
Resist the pressure.
I mean, that's kind of the problem. And, there's the talk about, as you alluded to, Lori, with drug recognition experts and everything else in these kind of cases. We don't know whether or not somebody actually did those tests properly at the scene. I mean, making an admission like this could really hand the state the case on a silver platter, couldn't it?
Right. Yeah. for
Well,
sure.
the idea would be that there wasn't a drug recognition expert at the scene or administer any of those types of tests. So therefore, any testimony that would relate intoxication and the presence of those drugs would be irrelevant and inadmissible because they can't say that those drugs cause intoxication without proving up that those drugs cause intoxication through a drug recognition exam. However, the state could still show the presence of those drugs, show the video, and just not say, look, fine, I can't say that that drugs caused this intoxication. You draw your own conclusions. Those cases are defensible.
But can't the state also argue, based on the admission that he made, okay? And I want to take this one step further because it's not just that I was taking prescriptions. He said I had a bad reaction
Right.
Right.
to prescriptions.
Right.
Right.
And so couldn't the state use that admission, put that public statement that he made, offer it into evidence, and say, he lost the normal use of his physical and or mental faculties, and try it under that standard.
Right.
But I mean, that's how, back before all these blood draws, if you didn't have a breath test, if you didn't have anything other than a scene video, that's how the state tried DWI cases in the majority of the cases. And they just said, look at the video, ladies and gentlemen. And they would get the cop to opine, in your opinion, had defendant X lost the use of his normal physical and mental faculties.
And then they put it on PowerPoint in quotations. I had a bad reaction to all the drugs I was taking.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, how do you spend that from a defense standpoint?
I don't know that you do. When you're thinking of the totality of the circumstances, I can't think of a good spin to put on it. And I have to assume that he has a PR team and a legal team, and maybe they had not
good
consulted
enough
with one another.
because he's talking.
Yeah, and the problem too is, and this is what, as a criminal defense lawyer, you have a lot that you have to struggle with. Okay, so if you can't win on guilt innocence, what's the next thing you go to? You go to mitigation. Okay, we need to figure out how can we craft an argument to try and convince the prosecutor this is a good person, that give them a second chance, that we need to reduce the charge to something else. The problem with DWI or DUI in the case of Florida, what people don't realize is the lobbyists have made these laws so tough that there isn't any wiggle room to go. There's very little wiggle room in a lot of jurisdictions to do anything but plead to a DWI if you want to resolve your case without a trial.
Right. I mean, I practiced in Tennessee before here, and that was it. There weren't other options. There's no diversion, and it's mandatory jail time, at least 48 hours. So, I mean, they're just you could go hire whoever you wanted to. Unless you have a trial and beat it, then you will do at least 48 hours. You will lose your license for 1 year, and you will have a DWI on your record for the rest of your life.
It's because you had all that moonshine flowing through your state. That's why.
Tennessee doesn't play.
It will. I can just see his lawyers now. Tiger's going to cost you $150,000 to $200,000.
My fee alone.
My fee alone, not to mention all my associates. And then he writes the check, and the lawyer takes the check, and he tells his partner, this is a 150,000 PTI packet. Yeah. It's the easiest PTI packet I've ever had. No, Tiger, you're going to be all right. I'm going to get you this program. You're going to jump through some hoops. Case dismissed. Yeah. And I hope Tiger's smart enough to see through that. I hope he is. But, I mean, he admits it's going to be a tough case.
Yeah.
And whoever gets hired on that's going to have their work cut out for him. But, man, we've seen some good DWI work.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's people can pull rabbits out of hats on things. And the problem is that this is going to be basically a capital misdemeanor from a media standpoint in the way they're going to cover it.
Unless he really does take responsibility and admit that he might have an addiction problem.
Right.
Because it sounds like he's taking a cocktail of prescription medications. He has had 4 back surgeries, and I understand back pain can be very difficult to live with, but what is he taking that is putting him in this state? In his mugshot, he's the definition of stoned. Yeah. He just looks like a statue. Yeah. And it's bad. And he's already an admitted addict with the sex addiction that he previously addressed.
So we've used up our rehab.
What?
Get out of jail free cards.
You gotta.
He didn't go to jail for the sex.
Yeah,
at least
he didn't.
Right.
He didn't even get charged with that. No.
So maybe we'll hear in the next week or so he's getting help, going to rehab.
I suspect we will.
So wait, so you guys are saying that he got super stoned on drugs and got high, cruising around at 3 a.m., satisfying his sex addiction.
Maybe.
Oh, what a bad night, Tiger. That's a bad night.
3 words, get a driver.
Yes!
Billionaire,
or even just one, Uber.
Yeah.
Come on, Ty.
That too. Let's jump on the phone lines here. Maybe we've corrected our technical problems now. We can get a phone call in here. Hello, thanks for calling Reasonable Doubt.
All right, hey guys, it's Justin.
Hey.
I was actually calling because I wanted to talk more about what y'all were talking about before, about trends since Donald Trump was elected. I want to point out one thing real quick. Aren't all 4 of you millennials?
Wait, what?
I'm at the end of it. I'm 34, so
I'm technically not.
I think I'm at the
Okay.
end. Like
I don't even know. I'm 35.
Well, I think y'all are millennials, and I think y'all are out there doing stuff.
I'm technically
but I
not
wanna-
a millennial, but
I think Gen Y.
Yes. Millennials,
All right,
Generation Y.
all right. But my point is
digress.
the question I wanted to ask about, I see something else going on since Donald Trump has become a major candidate and now president. I see things like what we have going on with the man who stabbed the 2 people who were trying to intervene when he was harassing a woman. I just got done with a trial today that the incident occurred 3 months ago, and it started out with one group of people lobbing racial and immigrant-based slurs at another group of people in a bar, and a big bar fight broke out. And you're seeing more in that kind of stuff. I'm curious what y'all think about Trump making it more okay for people to be racist, to act on those things. That's one thing. Now on the Tiger Woods thing, I completely disagree with all of y'all. I think that video is 100% defensible. I think that statement he made was brilliant, saying that he had an unexpected reaction to medication. Let me ask you this.
I go on record saying
I
it's
think you have
defensible.
2 bigger questions. Hang on, JV. I think you got 2 bigger questions.
I go on record
Number
saying it's
one, can
defensible.
Tiger and Jimmy, you're good at this. Can Tiger Woods really get a fair trial? Number one.
Yeah.
Number two, now this is a legit question. Is there a defense if this reaction to medication occurred when he was asleep and he started sleep driving and he didn't intend to operate a motor vehicle? Is that a legal defense? I don't know. I'm going to listen to y'all's comments off the air.
No. The answer to that question is no.
well, and I do think it's tough for any celebrity in any high-profile case to get a fair trial, but particularly with a guy who, as you pointed out, Lori, has already been. I mean, the 404B, it doesn't even have to be legally admitted because everybody on the jury is going to know about all the prior acts. You know, and for those of you at home without a law degree, 404B is other crimes, acts, or wrongdoings that can come in, and it doesn't even have to. I mean, it can be something so stupid like that you lied on an application. Yeah, on the application to get your Kroger card. I mean, I mean that is literally how stupid it is, and how what kind of minute little things can come in to impeach your character, if you so choose to. I mean, and the problem is, how do you get around once you've made that statement? Here's the problem: you're not allowed to use acts to solely impeach character, right? Mm-hmm. But you can use it if the defendant testifies. Yeah. Well, how do you not testify once you've made these statements?
You have to. You have to.
Or, I mean, you'd have to. I mean, I don't see how you sit back and just let those statements come sailing in without then, because, I mean, I think the jury is going to want to hear from Tiger Woods.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
You know, because if it is a quasi-defensible case, or if there is some little thing, I think the juror's natural tendency is going to be,
what do you have to say?
I want to hear from Tiger. Mm-hmm. Because one, because they want to hear what he has to say, but two, because of the celebrity factor. Yeah. I think that works against him in this case to some degree.
I mean, I think there are some ways you could attempt to craft it without putting him on, whether or not it's using experts and things like that to testify about the effects of that particular type of medication. However, some of the usual reasons we try to get into a jury's head about why people don't testify, maybe being nervous to speak in front of people, language barriers, he just doesn't have that. And so they know you can get up here and tell us what happened, and they're going to expect for him to do that.
And he's a professional golfer. Composure. Right. His composure was impeccable. He won all those tournaments. He has had such heavy pressure upon him.
Right. Except when he gets high on drugs and goes looking for sex at 3 in the morning.
We got another call coming in, so let's jump on over there. Hello. Thanks for calling Reasonable Doubt.
Hey, guys. Hey, thank you very much. Watching your show. This is Coach Michael Lewis from from ESPN 97.5 Street Sports and Sports Law Show.
Cavs and 5.
You said
hope
4.
you guys
I
come
said
on our
5.
show one day.
Oh, we'd love to come on. We'd love to have you on as well.
All right, hey guys, just wanted to give my opinions about the situation with Donald Trump.
Sure.
And with the situation with all that's gone on. What I'm really thinking is I kind of agree with the last caller, but I think really the biggest thing is that we all have to come to a medium to a point that Democrats and Republicans have to initiate getting rid of the gun law, because there are a lot of people that are walking around with no purpose of being with guns or weapons or anything, and especially this guy. This guy had been in Portland, and he's been in and out of jail, and here's this guy with a mentally ill situation, and this is what I really don't feel, comfortable with, somebody being in public with not only with a knife. It could happen here in Houston, it could happen anywhere.
Right.
But the Tiger Woods situation, there is already a report from the New York Times that out of this situation, that Nike and Bridgestone will be dropping him as of next week.
Oh.
But I wanted to take you guys' thoughts about that off the air, and hopefully I can converse with one of you guys coming on my show, or network with one of you guys.
Be great. Thanks for the call. I do agree that there obviously has been an uptick in this stuff since the camp. And I don't, honestly, my belief is, I don't think it was Donald Trump that sparked all this. I think it happened, a lot of this stuff happened under President Obama.
Yes.
Because of the backlash of having a black president. I honestly believe that. I mean, I don't think this is something new because of Trump. I think it's been exacerbated because I think what's happened is, honestly, I think the media is covering it a lot more, and it's more pronounced because I think they didn't want to draw attention to it during President Obama's administration. I think they would report the really bad stuff, but I think the media exercised some sort of control to not make it appear. But now it's, Donald Trump has made it bad. I don't see, from my perspective, because, and maybe you guys can talk about it more, because we see a lot of these cases coming in and out of the courthouse. We hear people talking in the elevators at the courthouse. I feel like this stuff happened well before Trump took office.
It did, but I think, like, to agree with you, the presidency of Barack Obama, it had it boiling to the surface, right? People were so desperate and frustrated in their racism and bigotry that they just did not know what to do with themselves. But the rise of Donald Trump just took the lid off, because people have gotten a lot more bold. We're talking random encounters in Target and Walmart, and where we're just using all kinds of, racial slurs and just.
But I do believe but I do believe that stuff went on. I just think it's more pronounced now.
Especially with social media. Facebook
with the rise of Facebook Live has really
something,
changed a lot of this
and you
stuff.
see people just have their phones out.
Yeah.
And everything is being recorded, posted, uploaded, commented upon.
Yeah, and it gives, and also, I feel like that it has incentivized people because they can become quasi-celebrities overnight.
Right.
Because they can just flip on their phone and start recording stuff live.
Right, and they get 5 minutes of fame.
Right, and they get to go on CNN and tell how they're recording somebody lashing out with racial slurs.
Right.
Well, it's true.
And it runs all the way to the legislature, like we've seen, and to the bills that they're passing.
Right, and with our last caller, I mean, the problem is we don't have anybody who will come to meet in the middle on this deal.
Not even the legislatures will. They're fighting down on the House floor, and it's being recorded, and we're hearing about it, and it's being covered.
But I mean, one of the things, and even George Bush, to some degree, was able to get people to come together to get certain things passed.
Yeah.
And we just, I mean, the last 10 years or so, towards the end of the Bush presidency and beginning with Obama presidency, I mean, it has just been, we're not going to agree. We're not going to agree on anything. We're not going to come together. We're not going to compromise. I think it's just a really bad state for
Well,
us to be
it's
in.
like the idea that now, I mean, officers already look at me suspect anyway, because I'm a vato.
Aw.
But in reality, if they want to come up to me and check me out and ask me, hey, where are you from? Let me see you're a citizen. You know, me, because I don't want to get shot or killed, I'm gonna comply, and I'm gonna feel like I have to comply with what they're doing, what they're saying, even if I'm doing nothing wrong. And I hate that idea that I'm actually gonna have to do that because I don't want to get shot or arrested and then end up in the misdemeanor holdover and have a lawyer represent me.
What do you do? I'm a lawyer.
Yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, sure, man. We all
Yeah.
are.
Yeah.
Free PR bond.
Yeah,
exactly.
Hey, we don't get on a PR bond.
We got another caller on hold, so let's get in and take another call here. Hello, thanks for calling Reasonable Doubt.
Well, thanks for taking my call. I have a simple question. What is the status of the bail bond reform in the legislature? Were they able to get anything done?
I think that's been tabled to the next session, as far as I understand. I don't think anything happened this go around. I think it's been tabled to the next session.
I will say, caller, we're gonna make, at least we're gonna make some efforts to maybe get some people at the ground level.
Yeah.
Reach out to them, see if they'll come on the show, talk about the federal judge's opinion, maybe even get hopefully get the defense side, and even reach out to the plaintiff side, plaintiff both sides, to come on here and talk about their positions, because I'm trying to piece through that 193-page opinion. Yeah, it's pretty thick.
Yeah.
But I will say there are some things that have recently, I saw, like, for example, even on a failure to appear. So let's say an individual gets a PR bond, shows up to court, knows he's going to get sentenced on that day, kind of freaks out and says, you know what, I'm out of here. I'm not going to jail today. Leaves, gets a warrant because he jumped. And then when he gets back to the system, it's my understanding that he gets a PR bond again.
Correct.
And I said, wow, that's, I guess that could cut both ways. I mean, I don't know. I mean, how often is there a limit to that? And so can this guy just be perpetually on the run? But then again, we're thinking about misdemeanors. These are trespasses.
All of this can change. All of this can change if it's not codified, and it's the legislature that's going to put the spine in the law here, and we're not. And it's statewide. The legislature is statewide. It's not a Harris County crime that we're looking at here. It's, I think, inequities are all over the state and the nation. Too many people of color are getting thrown in the can, can't get out, and when they get out, they've lost their rent, they've lost their car, they've lost everything. So the legislature felt it was more important to do the bathroom bill, or try and get the bathroom bill, or I don't want anybody looking at my junk wherever I go in the restroom. but that was more important than I can't understand this state, than getting the criminal justice fixed. Oh, thank you very much. I'll take it.
Thank you for calling.
Thanks for your call. We only got a few minutes left, guys. I just want to touch on this last case that I just find really interesting, and that is the appeal for Ross Ulbricht, the Silk Road founder. He was convicted, got a life sentence in federal court, and life in federal court means life.
He was young too. How old's the guy?
He was early 30s, 31, I believe. And the Second Circuit, he took his case. He was convicted on all 7 counts. The guidelines called for life. The judge gave him no breaks, cut him no slack whatsoever, and sentenced him to life. He lost his appeal this week. In fact, yesterday, the opinion came out. And I think what is interesting, and Genesis and Lori, the 3 of us are in the federal courthouse quite a bit. I mean, some very heavy sentences are handed out over there without the chance of parole, much less a sentence like this where you get life. But the crazy thing to me is, and it's this case had misconduct by undercover agents to the highest degree.
Oh, yeah.
That was not turned over to the defense until, in one case, there were 2 agents that had committed misconduct. I mean, to the point where serious misconduct. where they were actually in this
Charged
whole,
and convicted.
Charged and convicted of it.
Wow.
And this stuff was not disclosed to the defense till, in the one case of one of the officers, a week before trial. And I think the other one, I don't know if it was even disclosed at all. They didn't find out until after the trial. And the Second Circuit said,
Wow.
I mean, that's the scary thing. Is, you know, there was issues with the warrants. There was a whole lot of issues. But the most troubling thing to me was federal law enforcement officers can go in, have misconduct to the point where they get charged. You don't win. Too bad. Life sentence upheld.
And it appears, and I could have this wrong, but it appears that that misconduct could have applied to the investigation of this case. So it's not like they were just committing misconduct and you should have told me so I could have looked into it. There are circumstances of this particular case.
Right, because there was you know, one of the issues on sentencing was whether or not he commissioned murders, 5 murders.
Right.
And it's like, you know, well, what role did the undercover agents play in whether or not that happened?
Right.
The other interesting thing to me about this case was the defense basically admitted to him being the founder, but there was this question about whether, because there was this, you know, online identity, the DPR, and I don't understand the defense strategy of, well, we'll admit to being the founder, but we're going to challenge whether or not DPR was actually us. I didn't understand that.
No.
I didn't get that strategy at all.
Dread Pirate Roberts.
Correct.
For those who don't know.
Yes, sorry.
That was his
Avatar. His handle.
But there were 2 other people, and the government was investigating 2 other people as possibly being DPR.
Right.
I don't know. I feel like this was a whole underground. The Silk Road thing was a whole underground network.
eBay for drugs.
Yeah.
What it
And
sounds
so, I mean, it was bad stuff, no doubt. But I mean, this
Super
is
serious.
just.
Drug trafficking to the highest
This guy
degree.
got more time than cartel leaders.
Right.
This kid who set up this network to do this, for basically being an enabler, got more time than cartel members who bring people down to Mexico and kill them.
But what do we tell our federal clients? It's all up to the judge.
Right.
At the time of sentencing.
Yeah.
We can only do so much, and at the end of the day, the decision lies with the judge. And that's
You ain't working for me. You ain't working for me.
I'm gonna write a real nice memo.
Hey, how about that? No, I won't tell him. I was gonna say, how about that bond hearing? Y'all hear about that?
Oh yeah.
I don't go into that. It's all
Should we give you? We got 30 seconds left. Should we give you the eye test?
2 drinks, man.
Are you okay to drive tonight?
2 drinks. 2 drinks.
Did you take any prescriptions?
2 drinks. 2 drinks or 4 drinks. 2 drinks.
He's done.
Done.
So did this hour go by fast enough?
It did. It flew by. I had a
Flew
good
by.
time.
I told
Yeah,
you it
it's
would.
fun.
I told you it would. See? You know?
Thanks for having me.
That's all the time we got. Thank you for coming. That's all the time we got this week, ladies and gentlemen. We thank Lori Botello and Genesis Draper for joining us this week.
Thank you.
We'll be back next week with another great episode of Reasonable Doubt. In the meantime, please check us out on Facebook. Come follow us on Twitter. Stay in contact with us, ladies and gentlemen. Good night, and see you next week.